Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Darby Allen, Regional Fire Chief, Director of Emergency Management. Thanks for coming here this evening for the media briefing. I'm going to start this evening off with a few words from Mayor Melissa Blake. Thank you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. It is, again, a unique privilege to be standing before you to bring an update, and I've got several points that are contained on my phone, and some of the things that, of course, I get to represent are the citizens that are involved in not only the community, but the evacuation, the volunteering side of things, and probably the information that people will be interested in is we're starting to see impacts on the operations at our landfill, and what I think I'm going to communicate to the public is that if you are only requested to put your black bins out this week, the recycling and the extra services that are usually part of your pickup may be compromised for a while. We will send out official communications on that one, but that is sort of the ripple effect of what will be happening as we continue to manage this crisis. We know that people have been curious, of course, about what's happened with the animals in the SPCA and with the horses. I can tell you from my notes that we've had some 80 horses that were moved by their owners and taken out to an alternate property out on Tower Road, so our horses are well cared for. When I received the component that relates to the fire that we call the West Fire, this is the one, of course, that's created the local state of emergency, which is still in effect and will remain so, but we'll have some status changes in terms of the evacuation requirements. But what we're advised is that the dozers are working on the ground during the nights, and they'll continue to do that as long as it is safe for them to do so. And what they'll be working on, of course, is the construction of a fire break between the tip of the fire and Highway 63. So I know we've had community interest in seeing something like that happen. Trust the experts in the field. They're doing the best that they can with the circumstances they've got, the equipment that's there, and the resources that are coming in. What really has a bigger impact, of course, is what happens with our weather. And wind is predicted to be coming out of the southeast in the morning, and then it will be southwest in the afternoon. So this could exacerbate, or even in some cases help, our opportunities for putting the conditions into a better stead. But the extreme fire conditions are once again predicted for tomorrow. So I'm going to go right back to where I started, which is the public and their safety being at the forefront of everything that we need to undertake. And we're sending some general messaging out right now. Our public works have updated all the electronic message boards throughout the city to suggest very strongly, and you hear it from me too, no ATVs or OHVs, off-highway vehicles, on the backcountry trails. So this is really important. We've heard reports of people flying drones. It's a really exciting fire if you're not directly involved in it, but as soon as you get in the way, it's becoming a problem. So people, I'm asking for your appreciation of the danger and hazards that exist and to respect any sensible means. So please don't write your backyard fires this week. You can see how dry the conditions are, the effect that it's having. No fireworks, not that we allow those things to happen anyways, and the perpetual complaints that I see from people witnessing others throwing cigarette butts out into the ditches, just as hazardous. So folks, really take personal responsibility for the actions that could exacerbate circumstances here. The last point that I want to get into is the actual status of the evacuations. And I am absolutely delighted to save the best for last in my recommendations here, but the residents of Prairie Creek, which are one of the 2 mandatory evacuation areas, have been, I've been able to advise that the mandatory evacuation has been lifted to the voluntary shelter in place. And so if I can just tell people what this really means, in the Gregoire subdivision, last night after we had the aerial view, we actually took the mandatory part off of the Gregoire area in general. Shelter in place means that you should be just as prepared. So when I talk about the extreme conditions being potential for tomorrow, we want our citizens, it doesn't matter if you're in those areas that are currently affected or anywhere else in the city, emergency preparation week is before us. You should have your bags ready to go in event of an evacuation. The Centennial Park campground, on the other hand, remains in a critical territory, and we are keeping the mandatory evacuation held on that particular location. And the businesses that are along that corridor have also been affected, and that too should continue to remain in place. But for most, other than the landfill, you should see operations as usual. And of course, the one thing I think is completely unusual about this place is just how much heart, spirit, and compassion people show in times of crisis. And I want to give my thanks thanks yet again on behalf of Regional Council to the folks who have stepped up, who've put their names forward to volunteer, who have been businesses offering support in various ways, for the people that are in the receiving center, for the people who are volunteering, bringing food from the food bank, wherever this source of help is coming from. It is incredible to see this community come together. And so thanks to every person who is doing their part to make this crisis a little bit easier. And of course, the experts on the ground, please show them your respect and your appreciation, because they are doing one heck of a job, and I just simply couldn't be more grateful for that. So hats off to everybody who's involved. And again, our media partners have been crucial in getting information to the public, and so thank you for what you do in these circumstances as well. Okay.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Just a couple of updates moving on from what the Mayor said. With respect to the information that's going out on no ATVs, OH8Vs, we just want to really reiterate the safety concerns for people within the area. Today we had a report from one of the bombers that was flying over that there was a Jeep right alongside where the fire was burning. So someone's driven in on a trail, which is, by the way, completely crazy, but it impacts our ability to continue. We can't carry on dumping water when we know there are people down there, because that's dangerous from that height. So we're pleading with people, ATVs, OHVs, whatever means, do not go in on the trails, do not go anywhere near that fire. It's fun to look at maybe, but it's not a place to go in for recreation. And there's plenty of vantage points from a safe distance around the city to do that. I just want to also mention, with respect to the information on moving to a voluntary shelter in place, that information is just been released by the Mayor. So, you know, there's been some communications issues where, you know, was it said that was the first time you've heard it first, so those residents have just heard it first for the first time, and they'll be going back to their homes this evening. It's been a great day for us, and I say great with all due respect. We had significant fire. I'm sure everybody saw those plumes this afternoon. And the reality is that that fire hasn't got any closer to town, and that fire isn't any closer to the dump. And that is mainly due to the incredible hard work by Alberta Forestry. They are incredible people. And if it wasn't for them, we'd be in a much worse situation. So I take my hat off to them, I applaud them, I thank them for all they do. And on that, we'll let the boss of that group come on and share some words on the technical aspects of the fire today. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thanks, Chief Allen. My name is Bernie Schmidt. I'm the forestry manager in Fort McMurray. Just to give you a quick update on the current situation of the fire. The current size of the fire is 1,285 hectares in size. So this morning we reported about 750 hectares. It's very difficult to get a very accurate size of the fire due to the smoke. We were able to get a better look at the fire today, and we've got a more accurate size. Currently we have 128 people ordered for this fire. We have 36 that are working the fire at this particular time. They're working on the east tip of the fire. They've been met up by the two dozer groups, and we're containing that small portion of the fire. It has not moved any closer to Fort McMurray or to the dump, so we have some good news there. Current conditions today was very hot and dry on the fire, approximately 27 degrees with an RH of 22. The inversion lifted at about 11 o'clock. That gave us the opportunity to get our helicopters in there to do some bucketing, and it allowed the air tankers into the fire to do their work as well. At this time, the southwest corner of the fire is the most active, and that's where we've seen the most growth today. And it's burning in a southwest direction, away from Fort McMurray. Just to wrap up, for tomorrow morning we have air tankers scheduled for early morning drops on the fire at 0900. This of course is going to be dependent on whether there's an inversion. There could be very likely lots of smoke in the air and may prevent us from getting into the fire. The priority for tomorrow is the north flank, as are the winds that are predicted are out of the southeast and southwest, and we're going to be experiencing some very warm temperatures and very low relative humidities tomorrow. So we're in for another challenging day tomorrow, but we have made some progress today, and things are our guys are feeling pretty good after today. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we can take some questions at this time.
So is there no concern overnight of the fire switching direction coming towards town?
There's no indication that there's going to be a wind shift through the night, and typically the winds die down, so moving closer to town is not very likely.
So how far away is the fire from the closest resident now?
Particular resident, we're talking about 1.5 kilometers.
How many people could go back to their home tonight?
I believe we calculated there's approximately 500 to 700 people in that little area, so those people can go back to their homes this evening.
And to the maximum, how many were evacuated today or yesterday?
I don't have the numbers, but I seem to remember 51 that we actually accommodated. There were more that came down for meals only, but I'd have to confirm that number for you.
Just so roughly 5,100?
No, 51 people.
Oh, the left.
Not left, that's what we accommodated in the reception center.
Just to confirm, you still had no loss of structures, and does that surprise you given what you saw yesterday?
Yes, we can confirm we've had no loss of structures. I don't know if surprise is the right word. We're certainly thankful. We're certainly blessed that everybody's done a wonderful job. We're blessed that we didn't get 35-kilometer winds in the wrong direction. So some of that stuff we can control and some of that we can't control, but we're certainly very happy that no one's had their properties damaged, no one's been hurt, and we hope that continues.
So there's how many people are in mandatory evacuation right now?
Well, with that area, I believe the Centennial is 200 people. So that's the number that will currently still be under mandatory evacuation.
How challenging is it? We heard that lakes were frozen. How challenging is it that it happens at this time of the year? Is that accurate, actually?
The lakes are not frozen, so Gregoire Lake is open, and we're assessing that for additional air tankers and skimmer groups, that sort of thing. The challenge is water, though. Getting a good water source to the fire is becoming a challenge. So for the helicopters to be able to bucket out of, and for the crews to actually pump water to the fire is becoming challenging.
Why is that?
Just lack of the distance. So the Hanging Stone River, which is, we're talking about half a kilometer away, that's quite a distance to have people away from the fire. We like to keep 1 foot in the black at this particular time, just due to the fire behavior, so we don't want to have people away from the fire's edge. Yeah.
From closer to the site, it seemed like there were a lot of airplanes and helicopters in the sky. How challenging is it for your pilots to go through this time?
It's extremely challenging due to the smoke and the air traffic. We're also within the control zone of the Fort McMurray airport, so that provides for additional challenges as well. So it is very challenging, but we have professional people that are conducting these operations, and they're doing very well.
And what does it mean for these people that nobody was hurt?
Oh, it's extremely important. Yeah.
Do you know if anybody went to the ER for breathing problems?
We've had no reports of anybody being admitted to hospital. And when we initially evacuated, we did initial pre-evacuation and asked for people who had problems breathing, non-ambulatory people or elderly people. We didn't get anybody come to the center at that time.
How many people do you have underground on the helicopters and tankers to be up in the air?
Right. So there's 2 tanker groups. There's a Convair 580 and Electra that's working the fire. We have 7 helicopters currently working the fire, and we have additional helicopters on order. We've ordered 128 people to fight the fire. Currently, there's 36 on the actual fire itself. Getting more people on there it's a safety concern. So, as we're able to anchor into locations and we can get more manpower on the fire, we'll be moving them out to the fire's edge. But at this time, the #1 concern is safety of the firefighters.
Has wildlife been a problem at all with them running out of the forest to avoid the fire?
We haven't, to my knowledge, we haven't encountered any wildlife issues.
We had a report of 2 bears today, getting fairly close, but they decided not to stick around and wandered back out again. So,
again, our concern is the activity, the public who are coming down the trails and getting close to the fire. So that's a huge safety concern for us. It's going to impact our operations. The tankers won't be doing drops if there's members of the public hanging around the edge of the fire. So we ask that people move away from the fire.
There was a video going around on social media today of somebody walking through the trail of one of the fire sites. Are there any penalties for citizens who do that?
Currently, there are no penalties, but within the state of emergency, that enables the municipality other powers. So I think legally, if we were to look into could we invoke some penalties, the answer is probably yes, but I don't know the accurate answer to that. The reality is we're really asking people to use some common sense here. It's really not a good idea. It's unsafe for you. It hampers firefighting operations. And then the other problem with that is if you have a problem in there, we have to send resources in to come and find you. So it's kind of a double whammy on all stages. So we're really encouraging people just to stay out of there, please.
Tell us what was happening with the fire when we saw the smoke get bigger and bigger this afternoon?
So as the inversion lifted, as the inversion lifted, the atmosphere became more unstable. The fire behavior started to pick up. So more oxygen was coming into the fire. The fire behavior became more aggressive. So that's when you saw the black column of smoke coming up.
When you say more aggressive, do you mean it burned?
Well, it would have went from sort of a surface fire, so fire that's just sort of creeping around on the ground, to a crown fire, where the entire trees are engulfed in flames. Yeah.
Do you expect more of those kind of flares tomorrow?
Yes. More of that activity will occur tomorrow.
And what's the strategy for tomorrow? Is it in the north?
The strategy is the north flank. Yeah. Just due to the winds, the southeast winds and the southwest winds will want to push the fire more to the northeast, which could potentially bring that closer to Fort McMurray.
So most of your people will be working tomorrow?
Yes. Yeah, the air crews, the air tankers, the helicopters. Again, the manpower, we have to assess their safety before we will not put them in front of the fire. So they'll be working the flanks and the rear of the fire.
Are you thinking about bringing people from outside Alberta to help you?
At this time, we're not experiencing any resource shortages, so to my knowledge, Edmonton has not asked for additional help outside.
And when you say you have 128 firefighters ordered, so does that mean they're like here and they're ready to go, and then as soon as it's safe, you put more people, more than the 36 you have fighting it right now?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And when do you expect to be able to do that?
As time goes on, as the days go on, we're going to be able to get more and more people onto the fire. So as portions of the fire perimeter become more secure, more safe to put people out there, again, we'll anchor them into a safe location and then start working the edge. Right now we have the CAT groups. This is going to give us a really big advantage. So if we can get some good CAT guard in there, that's essentially separating the burned fuel from the unburned fuel. So that'll be a great help to us.